Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and Television Industry. This is your host, Jennifer Lynn Warren. Let's get started with talking about these Zoom auditions and Zoom callbacks. And there is something that if you've been doing this for a while, you know to do in the audition room, and that is to play the whole room. You always want to play the entire room. I remember that I patted myself on the back once. I was doing a straight to callback producer session for Treme, which was a show that was on HBO for a while. And, the casting director and I had actually worked on this piece together. She had brought me in the next day, and it was straight to producers, and there were two guys that came in and sat in the room. One sat right next to the casting director, and the other guy went and sat way back in the corner of the casting room. And it's not a huge room, but still, he went back in the corner, and one could easily assume that maybe that was an assistant or someone not important because they're not next to the casting director. Well, guess what? I played the whole room. When I spoke to everyone in the room, I made eye contact with everyone. I treated everyone equally. And that turned out to not only be one of the executives on the show, but he was also going to be directing that episode. And I got brought back again and again. And the casting director had told me, Megan Lewis, she's like, you're one of the few actors that ever, actually addressed everyone in the room. And he really appreciated that. It's kind of a test he does with his actors. And so let's talk about Zoom. If you get the opportunity to go on to Zoom, and, a lot of times people have their names, and if you're really stealthy, maybe you're Googling on the side everybody who's in that room. If you're waiting, the way that these things are being run is a little weird right now, but sometimes you have a moment to do that. But don't assume just because you're not seeing their name on the production on IMDb, for instance, that they may not be the most important person in that Zoom call. So just like as an actor, you go into the audition room and you play the whole room, the entire room, I want to make sure you guys are playing and talking to everybody in that Zoom meeting. Okay, for this next segment, a little bit of fun here. Some people have reached out to me and they're like, I love that you're creating your own content. I want to do the same thing. I want to isolate with somebody and make a short film, but nobody is really seeing my vision and nobody wants to jump on board. So I am going to give you a little mental trick that might help you get a little bit further. And it's in the way that we approach people and the way we pitch things. And a lot of times we're like, hey, come be in my film that I am writing. And the language that you're using is very, inclusive of just yourself. And very rarely is it really inclusive of the other people that you're trying to get on your project. So this little trick is to start to begin your sentences with the word imagine. Imagine a film that ... Imagine if we did a project together that ... As soon as you say imagine, parts of the brain actually light up. It's a trigger word in a positive sense. In this time, I know triggering words tend to be negative in the zeitgeist right now, but this is a positive trigger word. So try using that. Try using that word to get what you want out of other people. As negative as that sounds, it's not a negative thing, because what you're doing is you are most likely speaking to artists, and artists don't really respond to facts. And it's funny how as artists, sometimes we think we have to break things down factually to get people on our side and to join our team. Whereas usually you just need to get them to imagine that we create this thing on YouTube that ... All right, guys, we are going to leave you for our last segment with another transference for you. And that means, like, our first segment we talked about, always play the whole room, not just one person that you imagine is important. But I know we've spoken on here before about bringing someone to the audition with you who you know in real life to replace the camera, right? So a lot of times, especially in commercial auditions, we're not really speaking to anybody. We're kind of speaking to the camera a lot of the times, and that can be very disjointed for you as an actor trying to do like some really good commercial work. And sometimes even with these Zoom meetings that we are now doing for auditions, I would suggest that you get your audition buddy that you are doing your audition with, that you're rehearsing with, and rehearse your audition on Zoom before doing it on Zoom, by the way. And also, side note, the casting directors know that you're not off book. We can see you reading on Zoom. Now, if you have amazing cold reading skills, you might be able to get away with it, but those skills better be amazing, like really amazing. But otherwise, guys, don't. Like you need to put your best foot forward as an artist, and the universe will know when you're taking something seriously and it will reward you. But if you're just going to be lazy and you're not going to put in the work on a character, and I'm not saying to not have your sides, because I always have my sides, because listen, I'm getting old and my brain does not work as great as it once did, and sometimes I need to grab some lines, or just a sentence is not sticking in my head, so I double highlight it so I know I can jump down to that page and grab it really quick, and it is what it is. But okay, so I digress. So be off book for your Zoom meetings. But as far as being able to take somebody into the room, now if you're quarantining with an actor buddy, that's great. You can literally put them on the other side of your computer so that you have a real person to make eye contact with, because you don't want to look directly into the Zoom camera unless they ask you to, or unless you're doing like a commercial audition that would be right for the camera. And even then on Zoom, it can be a little disconcerting even for the casting director, because they're looking right at you and they're used to you just looking at the camera, and they're not used to being part of the camera, right? So you want to rehearse for all possibilities. And that's another reason why you want to be off book. You want to be off book because if you think that you're going to be doing the read right to camera, and that's where you put your sides, or you have your sides like up on your computer, and they're like, we really want you to put it like far camera right, and next thing you know, you're looking across the living room and you're like, my sides are not over there and I didn't print them and I'm not off book. Oh God, what am I going to do now? Then you're screwed. So just get off book. But also bring a friend with you. And something that I did the other day, because there is something that I was like, I can't do this to like I could do this to my cat. I could do this to my wall. It's fine. But there's like this big emotional scene, and they didn't want me looking at the computer, which meant I could not be looking at the reader on the other side on Zoom. But I had a friend on my phone who was like, I had them on FaceTime and I had them muted so nobody knew that they were there, but I had someone to look at and respond to, and who gave me a lot of really great emotional cues and kept me in the moment. So that's a little hack for you for this Zoom time audition period that we are in, and I don't see Zoom going away anytime soon. So guys, get really good with that technology. And that's all for now. So if you guys would like to send any virtual tips, I am accepting tips at through PayPal or Venmo at jenniferlynnwarren.com. If you are jenniferlynnwarren@gmail.com. Goodness, we all have COVID brain right now, don't we? You can also ask me questions at hollywoodactorsguide@gmail.com, and I can be found on Instagram at hollywoodactorsguide. So thank you for supporting this podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Break a leg out there, and remember, you are not alone.